Have you ever stayed somewhere that looked perfect online, but felt wrong the moment you stepped inside? A quiet cabin in the woods, a peaceful lakeside resort, a modern family home with glowing 5-star reviews, a tropical villa built for celebration. Everything looks safe, until it isn't. Tonight on Fear Spiral, we're diving into real stories that will permanently change the way you see vacation rentals. Stories of doors that opened without warning, of hidden cameras no one was supposed to find, of strangers with keys, of hosts who watched from the shadows, of nights when help was miles away and cell service didn't exist. Imagine this. You're alone with your children in a forest cabin. The lock clicks in the middle of the night. Footsteps move across the living room floor. Or you walk into your rental after visiting a friend, and something feels wrong. Too quiet, too still. Or you notice a tiny hole in a bathroom outlet, too small to matter, until you unscrew it. And what you find behind it changes everything. These are not urban legends. These are not horror movies. These are moments when ordinary families realized they were not alone. When trust became vulnerability, when isolation became danger, when the place meant to protect them exposed them. And as each story unfolds tonight, ask yourself, how well do you really know the place you're staying? Who else has access? Who else has keys? Who else might be watching? Because sometimes the scariest part isn't the stranger outside. It's the one who already has permission to enter. If you love true horror stories that crawl under your skin long after the video ends, if you want real-life suspense that doesn't rely on monsters, only on human darkness, then make sure you subscribe to Fear Spiral right now. Hit that like button so this story reaches more people who need to hear it. And comment below, do you trust vacation rentals? Turn off the lights, lock your doors, and stay with me until the end. Because tonight, the fear doesn't come from the forest. It comes from the front door. Story 1. The Cabin in the Woods. Emma and Jack needed a break. Or maybe I did. The city had been loud for months. Sirens at midnight, traffic before sunrise, neighbors arguing through thin apartment walls. As a single mom, exhaustion doesn't knock politely. It builds quietly, like pressure behind your eyes. So when I found the cabin listing, it felt like an answer. Secluded forest retreat. Perfect for families. Peace and quiet guaranteed. No neighbors for miles. Spotty cell service. Total privacy. It sounded like peace. Now I know isolation can wear the same mask. The host's name was Robert. Friendly profile photo. Clean cut. Mid-50s. His messages were polite, quick, helpful. He sent clear directions, warned me about the gravel road, told me where the spare key would be, under the welcome mat. That detail should have bothered me. It didn't. We arrived late afternoon. The sun filtered through tall trees, painting everything gold. The cabin looked exactly like the photos. Wooden siding, small porch, tidy windows. Emma, 8 years old and fearless, ran inside first. "Mom, there's a loft," she shouted. Jack, 5 and still cautious about new places, held my hand until he saw the fireplace. Then he let go and started exploring. The inside smelled like pine and dust. Cozy. Simple. 1 bedroom downstairs for me. A ladder leading to a loft bed for the kids. Perfect. There was even a handwritten note on the kitchen counter. "Welcome. Make yourselves at home. I'm just a short drive away if you need anything." Robert. We played board games under warm lamplight. I made sandwiches and hot cocoa. Emma giggled from the loft. Jack asked if deer would walk by the windows. I locked every door before bed. Twice. Not because I was scared. Just because I'm a mother. The forest at night is different from the forest in daylight. It breathes. Wood creaks. Wind presses gently against glass. Leaves brush the walls like fingertips. But nothing felt wrong yet. The next day, we hiked a short trail nearby. The kids collected sticks and declared them swords. Emma demanded s'mores that night. I promised her we would. Back at the cabin, I started dinner early. Pasta boiling, sauce simmering. That's when I heard it. The door, opening. Not knocking, not rattling. Opening. I turned, spoon still in my hand, and there he was. Robert, standing inside the cabin like he'd never left. "Oh, hi there," he said with a wide smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He was taller than I expected. Mud on his boots. Smell of damp earth, just checking in. Water pressure good? Heat working. I nodded slowly. Yes, everything's fine. He stepped further inside. Further. Too far for a casual check. His eyes moved around the room. My purse, on the chair. The kids' backpacks. Emma's shoes kicked off by the ladder. "You all alone out here?" he asked. The question landed heavier than it should have. "Yes, just us for the weekend." He nodded slowly. Too slowly. Offered to bring firewood later. Said the fireplace sometimes needed extra logs. Then he left. But something in the room had shifted. The cabin didn't feel entirely ours anymore. That night we made s'mores. I told the kids silly stories about forest animals having secret meetings after dark. They laughed. But when I tucked them into the loft, Emma asked, "Why did that man just come in without knocking?" I smiled. "He owns the place, sweetie. He was just being helpful." But even as I said it, it sounded wrong. I locked the doors again, checked the windows. No cell service, just darkness pressing against the glass. Sometime deep into the night, I woke up. Not fully, just enough to sense something wasn't right. Then, I heard it. The faint metal sound of a door handle moving. Slowly, deliberately. Click. The front door opened. My heart slammed so hard I thought whoever was inside would hear it. Footsteps. Soft. Careful. Not Emma. Not Jack. I sat up slowly. Listened. A drawer sliding open in the kitchen. A cabinet shifting. Someone was inside. I slipped out of bed and grabbed the heavy flashlight from the nightstand. It felt small in my shaking hands. "Who's there?" I called. Silence. Then a voice. Low. Unfamiliar. "Just checking something." "Go back to sleep." Not Robert. Different voice. Rougher. I moved toward the doorway and aimed the flashlight into the living room. A man stood in the kitchen. Bearded. Older. Dark jacket. Rummaging through cabinets. He shielded his eyes from the light. "Easy," he said calmly. "Robert sent me. Pipe issue. Pipe issue. At 2 a.m. Without calling. Without knocking." Emma stirred upstairs. "Mom?" she whispered. The man glanced up toward the loft. That look. That single glance. It changed everything. "Leave?" I said. My voice didn't shake. "I don't know how. Get out or I call the police." He hesitated. We both knew there was no signal out here. But he didn't know that. After a long moment, he backed toward the door, slowly, watching me. Then he left. I locked the door, shoved a chair under the handle, climbed the ladder, and pulled my children into my arms. "Wrong cabin," I whispered. But I didn't believe it. I didn't sleep. I sat by the window until sunrise, watching, waiting. At first light, we packed, fast. Emma asked why we were leaving early. "Something came up," I said. As we drove away, I looked back. The cabin looked harmless, peaceful, almost beautiful. I called Robert once I had signal. Voicemail. Left a message. No reply. Later, the rental site confirmed something that made my stomach drop. Robert had prior complaints. Unannounced entries. Items missing. Late-night maintenance. His listing was removed. But removal doesn't erase what could have happened. It doesn't erase that look when the stranger glanced toward the loft. And sometimes, the scariest part isn't what happened. It's what almost did. Story 2. The resort. The cameras. The villa. The resort Tom was thinking about burgers. That's what he remembers most. The smell of charcoal earlier that evening, his dad laughing, Luke arguing about music, Ellie dealing cards dramatically like she was hosting a game show, Ben clutching his stuffed dinosaur like always. It had been normal. Ordinary. The kind of ordinary you don't realize is fragile. Tom had walked to his friend Jake's cabin just before sunset. The resort paths were lined with soft yellow lights that flickered as darkness crept in. Families grilled. Laughter drifted between cabins. Safe. That's what it felt like. Safe. When he walked back toward cabin 12 later, the air felt heavier, too still. No television noise, no music, no voices. The front door was slightly open, just an inch. Tom pushed it gently, and immediately knew something was wrong. The living room wasn't just messy, it was disturbed. Chairs overturned, cushions scattered, drawers pulled halfway out. The air smelled metallic and sharp. His father was on the floor, Luke against the wall, both unmoving, bound. Tom didn't scream. Shock doesn't always scream. Sometimes it freezes you in place. Then instinct kicked in. He ran, pounded on the neighbor's door. The Carters. Mr. Carter dialed 911 before Tom could finish his sentence. Sirens came fast. Too fast. Ben was found hiding in a closet, silent, clutching his dinosaur so tightly his knuckles were white. I stayed quiet, he whispered later, like Dad said. Ellie wasn't there, her bed untouched, her shoes still by the couch. The investigation unfolded slowly, painfully. Deputies pieced together timelines. A friend of Luke's, Carl, had been seen nearby. Another man, Ray, staying close to the resort. Witnesses mentioned arguments at the bar. Late-night movement. A truck leaving too quickly. Evidence was collected. Statements taken. Suspicions raised. But suspicion isn't proof. Weeks turned into months. Ben had nightmares about a face in the window. Tom checked locks twice, then 3 times. Ellie's jacket was found miles away. The resort slowly emptied over the years. Cabins aged, paint peeled, windows cracked. But for Tom, it never ended, because unanswered questions don't fade. They echo, and sometimes the most terrifying thing isn't knowing who did it. It's knowing they might still be out there. The cameras. Verona, Wisconsin. A modern house with clean lines, 2 bathrooms, backyard space for children to play. Perfect reviews. Patrick greeted them personally. Friendly smile, neat beard, calm voice. I'll be nearby if you need anything. He asked how many children, their ages. He nodded thoughtfully, too thoughtfully. The first night was normal. Laughter, showers, kids brushing teeth. No one noticed the outlets. Not at first. It was a child who mentioned it. The plugs look weird. Later that night, brushing her teeth, she saw it. A tiny hole in the outlet plate. Too centered, too precise. Curiosity turned into unease. A screwdriver turned. The plate came off, and behind it, a camera. Small, carefully glued, powered directly through the wiring, pointed directly at the sink, the toilet, the shower. Silence filled the hallway as they checked the second bathroom. Another camera. Same design, both with storage cards inserted. Ready. The realization hit harder than any loud noise could. Children had showered there, changed clothes, laughed, unaware. They messaged Patrick. His response came quickly. That's not possible. Must be a mistake. I'm coming over. Coming over. At night. After they discovered the cameras. That's when fear sharpened. They locked the doors, turned on every light, called police. Headlights appeared in the driveway before officers arrived. A knock. It's Patrick. Silence from inside. Another knock. Footsteps circling the house. Door handles testing. Then sirens. Lights flooded the windows. The car sped away. Police removed the devices. Confirmed they were functional. Evidence was secured. Patrick claimed they were for security. But bathrooms don't need security cameras, especially not hidden ones, especially not aimed like that. His account was suspended. Charges followed, but the damage wasn't just legal. It was psychological. Because once you feel watched, you never fully stop checking. Outlets, mirrors, smoke detectors. Every small hole becomes suspicious. Every rental becomes a question. Who installed this? Who has access? Who else knows? The Villa Costa Rica. A birthday trip. A celebration. Villa Llamas looked beautiful in the photos. Pool. Hills. Warm light. The owner was polite. The security guard Bismar was quiet. Too quiet. His apartment was attached to the villa. Separated by a thin wall, he walked the grounds at night with a flashlight, always nearby. Watching. The first few days were joyful. Zip-lining. Markets. Drinks on the patio. But isolation feels different at night. Branches scrape louder. Dogs bark longer. Footsteps echo. The night before Carla's birthday, her sister-in-law flew home. Carla stayed one more night. Alone. She texted about a power outage. Mentioned the guard invited her for drinks. Said it was sketchy. Then followed it with, "Just kidding. All good." That was the last message. Her suitcase was found packed. Passport inside. Phone missing. Signs of struggle. Drag marks near the tree line. Days later, search teams found her in the wooded area behind the villa. The investigation revealed what Fear had already suspected. The guard had crossed a line no one saw coming. Arrest. Trial. Conviction. But justice doesn't rewind time. It doesn't erase the final text. It doesn't silence the echo of, "Just kidding." The lawsuit that followed argued background checks were inadequate. Oversight failed. Trust was misplaced. And a birthday trip became a permanent scar. The pattern, different places, different states, different countries. But one pattern: isolation, access, control. When you rent a place, you're stepping into someone else's space, someone else's keys, someone else's control over entry points, wiring, locks. Most hosts are honest. Most stays are safe. But it only takes one. One unlocked door, one hidden device, one person with access and the wrong intentions. On Fear Spiral, we don't tell these stories to create panic. We tell them because awareness is power. Lock doors. Bring portable alarms, check outlets and mirrors. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is, because sometimes the most terrifying places are the ones with 5-star reviews. Every one of these stories began the same way, with excitement, with trust, with a simple decision to get away for a few days. A cabin in the woods, a lakeside resort, a modern family home, a birthday villa in paradise. None of them looked dangerous. That's the part that lingers. Danger rarely announces itself. It hides behind welcome notes, behind 5-star reviews, behind polite smiles and, "I'll be nearby if you need anything." The mother in the forest cabin will never forget the sound of that door opening in the middle of the night. Tom will never forget walking into silence where laughter used to be. The families in Wisconsin will never look at an outlet the same way again. And Carla's final message, "Just kidding, all good," will echo in the hearts of the people who loved her for the rest of their lives. These stories aren't meant to make you afraid of the world. They're meant to remind you that awareness matters. Check the locks. Ask questions. Read beyond the first few reviews. Bring your own sense of caution with you wherever you go, because peace and privacy should never come at the cost of safety. And sometimes the scariest places aren't abandoned buildings or dark forests. They're the places that look perfect online. If tonight's episode made you think, if it made you double-check your locks, if it made you pause before your next booking, then this spiral did its job. Here on Fear Spiral, we explore the moments where ordinary life collides with hidden danger, not to sensationalize, but to expose the thin line between comfort and vulnerability. If you haven't already, Make sure you subscribe to Fear Spiral so you never miss a story that could change the way you see the world. Hit like if this story kept you watching until the end. It helps this channel grow and reach others who need to hear these warnings. And comment below. Have you ever experienced something unsettling at a rental or hotel? Do you check rooms before you settle in? Your story might be featured in a future episode. Until next time, lock your doors, trust your instincts, and remember, sometimes the spiral doesn't begin in the dark. It begins with a welcome message. Thank you for watching Fear Spiral.